Marine reptiles today are, well, how do I say this? A bit boring. None of us want to admit it, but you all know what I mean. They are not really that diverse, and also not all that different from their relatives on land. They are still cold-blooded, and they appear not even that dramatically adapted for life in the sea. Most of them are still able to slither, crawl, or even walk on land. This is nowhere close to the fully marine adaptations seen in the marine mammals they share the world with. But in the past, everything was different. Millions of years ago, the oceans were full with sea monsters. There were reptiles swimming in the seas in all forms imaginable, big and small, sleek and armored, cold to warm-blooded, and their history was a long one. It began all the way in the Permian, when archaic reptiles already ventured into the shallow waters. These were the crocodile-like Mesosaurs and the flipper Claudiosaurs. Some research suggests that the former may have been related to the later Ichthyosaurs, while the latter may be linked to the turtles. But the true age of the marine reptile began in the Triassic, when multiple groups began to invade the sea. There were the ridiculously long-necked Tenistrophiids, the strange Thalatosaurs, the mysterious Helveticosaurs and Saurophargids, the turtle-like Placodons, the hammer-headed Atopodentatus, and the ferocious Nophosaurs. Out of the latter soon evolved the Plesiosaurs, who shared the Triassic seas with small and giant Ichthyosaurs, the largest members of which could rival modern whales in size. This explosion of diversity unfortunately ended already by the end of the period. Only the Plesiosaurs and Ichthyosaurs would make it into the Jurassic. In the latter case only in reduced form, as the giant and serpentine Ichthyosaurs had also failed to make it, only leaving the smaller, streamlined kinds behind. But in these new seas, created by the breakup of Pangaea, they could truly thrive and diversify. Both groups brought forth giant marine predators, such as the Pliosaurs and Temnodontosaurs. Most fascinatingly, bone histology, geography, and the presence of blubber all indicate that they both were able to generate and retain their own body heat. Combined with giving live birth, this made them much more similar to cetaceans than to any of our modern marine reptiles. It allowed them to venture far out into the open ocean and even inhabit polar waters. Maybe it was even the reason why they survived while their Triassic neighbors perished, as the early Jurassic saw a significant cooling of global temperatures. Once it got warmer again, they were soon joined in the Jurassic seas by other newcomers. These were the Thalatozeuchians, distant relatives of our modern crocodilians. As time wore on, some of them came to resemble the Ichthyosaurs more and more in their marine adaptations. The turtles also first began to live in the seas in the form of the thalassochelys. With their flippers, these resembled modern sea turtles. But this is an example of convergent evolution, as the thalassochelys are completely extinct today. In addition, some rhynchosaurs, ancient relatives of the modern tuatara, also inhabited the Jurassic seas, perhaps resembling the marine iguanas in behavior. As the early Cretaceous began, these newcomers vanished too, leaving the Plesiosaurs and Ichthyosaurs all alone again for a time. In place of the thalassochelys evolved at this time the protostegids, a group of giant and, again, extinct turtles, together with the ancestors of the cheloniids, also known as the hard-shelled sea turtles. These would survive the shift into the later Cretaceous, but the Ichthyosaurs would not. With them too vanished the Pliosaurs, leaving behind only the long-necked Elasmosaurs and the smaller Polycotylids. It is at this point that I should address the title of this video. What was the last great marine reptile? The last giant of the seas, ancient and amazing, warm-blooded and gigantic, unlike any other reptile of today. The first obvious candidates would be the Mosasaurs. Indeed, they were latecomers to the scene, evolving only in the second half of the late Cretaceous from small monitor-like lizards. But they grew immensely in record time, became fully marine, and evolved an elevated metabolism, quickly taking the place of the vanished Ichthyosaurs and Pliosaurs. But they did not rule the Cretaceous seas alone. Until the very bitter end, they shared them with the last Plesiosaurs and giant protostegids. Were all these three together then the last great marine reptiles? The truth is, the age of the marine reptile did not end with the asteroid that concluded the Cretaceous. Unlike on land and in the air, some of the ruling reptiles did survive in the seas. First, there are obviously the hard-shelled sea turtles who still live today. But they are not that much different from other turtles. They were never endothermic and also never really all that large. They are marine reptiles, but not really of the great kind. Then there are the Dirosaurids. These were crocodilians that evolved at the tail end of the Cretaceous to inhabit brackish and salty waters, as if to replace the vanished Thalattosuchians. Dirosaurs made it past the Mesozoic largely unscathed and could benefit from the vanished competition. Some could attain impressive sizes, such as Phosphatosaurus of the early Eocene of Africa, which could grow up to 9 meters in length. Was this perhaps the last great marine reptile? Dirosaurids also do not have much in common with the truly great reptiles of the Mesozoic, including the Thalattosuchians. They resembled much more their modern relatives, and the slow growth rates of their bones likewise indicate a slow, cold-blooded metabolism. It is possible that they went extinct during the early Eocene with the appearance of the Protocetids, the ancestors of whales, as they were never as adapted to a fully marine life as these mammals were starting to be. There was another family of late Cretaceous marine reptiles that managed to survive the extinction event. Paleophytes were marine snakes whose fossils have been found all across the Atlantic. Unlike the Dirosaurids and more like their modern counterparts, they were fully marine. And some of them could grow large. The species Paleophis colosseus, which lived in the late Eocene of Mali, is estimated to have grown 8 to 12 meters in length, making it one of the largest snakes to have ever lived. Fascinatingly, high vascularization in the vertebrae of this snake indicate that it was evolving a higher metabolism than modern reptiles. Large, agile, perhaps even warm-blooded, Paleophis maybe really was the last great marine reptile. It could have given rise to a whole new lineage of marine predators, able to carry on the legacy of the related mosasaurs. Unfortunately, its appearance on the world stage may have been too late. By the late Eocene, the whales had already evolved large and fully marine predators, such as the ironically named Basilosaurus, against which it was likely hard to compete. Our search does not end here. Besides giant protostegids like Archelon and the hard-shelled sea turtles, there was another group of marine testudines that swam in the late Cretaceous seas. These were the Dermocheliddae. Though not quite as large, some researchers have concluded that these were actually more closely related to the protostegids than they were to the hard-shelled sea turtles of today. Unlike other marine turtles, they lacked the bony shell surrounding their carapace, instead having their whole body be covered by smooth skin and fat, much like the plesiosaurs. Based on fossils like those of Mesodermochelis, it is thought that they survived the KPG event because they had a more generalist diet than the fish-eating protostegids, often preying on simpler animals like jellyfish. But they did far more than survive the asteroid impact. They survived the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, they survived the evolution of the whales, they survived the arrival of the pinnipeds, they even survived the ice ages. The last great marine reptile is not found in the fossil record. It is an animal that is still alive today. It is Dermochelys coriacea, also known as the leatherback sea turtle. Almost 3 meters long and weighing half a ton, it is the largest reptile alive today, together with the saltwater crocodile. With its smooth skin and fat deposits, it bears a little resemblance to other turtles, and, most strikingly, it is homeothermic. Thanks to its blubber and sheer mass, it is capable of keeping its body temperature consistently 18 degrees above that of the surrounding water, and can also produce its own heat through muscular action. This allows it to swim even in the cold waters of the Arctic. In appearance and physiology, this animal bears a greater resemblance to the plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs and mosasaurs than any other reptile alive today. It is the last member of its family, and the only remaining memory of a time when animals like this ruled the seas. and soon, I fear, it will be gone too. Today the species as a whole is considered vulnerable, and its specific subpopulation is critically endangered. Globally, nesting females have been reduced since 1980 from 150,000 to possibly as little as 23,000. What is causing their decline is not an asteroid impact or an ice age, but us. Our chemical pollution poisons them and their nesting beaches. Our garbage fills their guts, while light pollution messes with the senses of the hatchlings as they try to crawl to the sea. Many adults become bycatch victims of the fishing industry. I lied at the beginning of this video when I said that modern marine reptiles are boring. Marine iguanas defend their territories with headbutting matches. Sea snakes are some of the most venomous animals on Earth. A 2015 study found out that sea turtles are the only marine tetrapods and reptiles that are biofluorescent. These are all things we would never know if these animals were extinct. Modern animals seem boring compared to extinct ones because they seem so familiar. We think we know them, and so we long for something different. But this is an illusion. The exoticism blends us. The past is forever lost, and all our joy of it is derived from fragments and speculation. What makes a sea turtle or iguana infinitely more fascinating than a plesiosaur is that these are alive and here. We can still interact with them. We can directly observe and learn new things from them that may have never been gleaned from skeletons alone. If these magnificent animals were to go down the way of the ichthyosaur, their existence will be reduced to a mere footnote in the memory of future generations. And that would be a disservice to the legacy of the great marine reptiles.